Both Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg made very specific requests of Puma during their time at Mercedes. Former Puma Motorsport racewear consultant Maurizio Seco tells the story about how when Lewis first came to Mercedes, there weren't any changes on the race suit that had to be made because they had fitted him before for F3 and GP2, but that Lewis spent more than 15 minutes telling Maurizio about how his hat had to be, specifically in relation to the angle between the brim and the crown, and that he wanted it to be a certain degree, and that he wrote all the details down on a piece of paper. And Maurizio was kind of sus, like, is this really that important? But Lewis told him, Maurizio, at every Grand Prix, people come to take so many pictures of me. I want to look the right way every time. And he also shared that he would bring a bag of 6 caps unfolded so that they would retain their shape and he would look like uniform throughout the weekend. For Nico Rosberg, the story came from Puma's senior manager of sports marketing, Gregor Hubner, who said that during the 2016 Singapore GP weekend, Nico Rosberg came up to them inquiring about changing the construction of his racing gloves because there was a seam in between his finger and the shifting pedal, which was making the starting procedure more difficult. And this was actually a whole ordeal during the 2016 season. It was Mercedes' one Achilles heel, the starting procedure and the starts, because there was a bit of a change. For the backstory, there's a change from the previous season in that now they had to use a single clutch with one hand to react to the lights, whereas before there was like a twin clutch situation. Anyway, Mercedes' Toto Wolff had said that this was a problem and that they hadn't given Nico and Lewis the best clutch possible, and that, you know, their clutch is actually really difficult to use and really difficult to optimize, so they were creating problems, and that this is a problem that they wouldn't be able to solve like before the end of the year. And it's funny because so Gregor Hubner tells the story about how he and the team and Nico worked together to analyze if there was a top layer, a bottom layer, and then a middle layer that was connected through pieces on each finger, and that by doing that they were able to remove that middle layer and then move the seam to the top so that there was no longer a seam in between the finger and the shifting pedal, and that like, Nico was very happy about it. But Toto, it's funny, after the Japanese Grand Prix where Lewis loses a bunch of positions on the start, Toto talks about how they had tried to work with, they had tried to figure it out earlier in the season, and that now they were using new gloves, which it's funny because this story is about how Nico requested this during Singapore and that eventually he got it, and then eventually Lewis did too.